Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So it feels like it's been a while. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can create reusable UMG components. So in the GDXR template, if I bring it over to the screen, you can see here I've got a little library of reusable that I use throughout the master settings, and then these are placed inside and they can be reused wherever you want, however you want throughout your project. And it also allows for branding and design choices to be easily modified. For example, if I leave this HUD menu settings window open and we take a look at one of these sliders, what I could do is I could go to my slider component and we can find that in here if I organize it a little bit better. And we see that we've got our slider on the window here, and maybe I want to change the slide bar color to bright green. And then we're going to have the slider handle be a garish yellow. So once I hit compile, what it's going to do is it's going to update every that uses that element. So you can go through and you can kind of redo everything, and you don't have to manually select every single slider that you create. It makes life a little bit easier. I've also done it for the combo boxes. So when I select a combo box inside of my graph, I have the ability to change what options are in there. So we'll take a look at these. We'll take a look at a few elements and how you can set those up. And what that'll do is it'll give you an idea of how you can use that in your project to just make life a little bit easier. We'll be using event dispatchers to communicate between different things and a whole bunch of different variables in it. So in the project that I've got, I'm just using a first person template, and when we start it has a little icon that I put on the screen through the HUD class, and then we're going to create a UMG widget that we can actually see in the scene. So we're going to do that real quick, and it's really easy to do. I'm going to call this UMG example, so example, and then in here we're going to create a widget blueprint. Just use a widget blueprint, WBP underscore UMG master. So typically I have it master because we can contain a bunch of little UMGs inside of it. And I'm just going to do a canvas panel. If you're trying to optimize your project, you might not want to use a canvas panel, so keep that in mind. We can just keep this as it is, slap a big button in the middle of it, just so we can see it on the screen. And then I'm going to create a blueprint class actor, where it's BP underscore UMG master, and then set this up with a widget. So the reason I'm doing this in a blueprint is because I don't want to have to just set up a pause system, so when I pause it shows the mouse and then we can interact with something on the screen. It's the same way, but with a HUD you typically don't want to interact with that. So UMG master, we'll do this as 0.3, 0.3 is typically a good size. And that's our button. We might have to come back in and change some sizes. Oh, we just draw a desired size. Cool. So we can drag that into our level. That's the wrong one. Drag it into our level, and we've got our UMG that we can display and interact with. So if we go to our event graph, we can select it. We can do on clicked and then print string. We should be able to go in and select this. So we can go up to it, and then we can click, and we see in the top left that we get our print string is displayed through our UMG. Cool. So now it's a case of just setting up some reusable components. Let's say we've got multiple buttons. We don't know what that button's going to do, but we want a button that we can design, we can change the text of, and we can go through that way. So what we do is create a new folder called UMG components, if I can spell it. Open it up, and then we can go to user interface. We can do widget blueprint, user widget blueprint, WBP underscore button. So this could be more like a general button. And then if we open this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change fill screen in the top right here to desired on screen. So how big it will be on the screen. What that allows us to do is wrap it in a size box and just gives you a little bit more control over how you're setting it all up. So we got a size, we got a button. We can just drag that on. You can see it's absolutely tiny. And instead of scaling up the button, what we can do is we can go in and we can change the width. So we can say we want this button to be 100 units by 75, maybe 50, maybe 40. 40's a little bit better. And then we can add some text to that button. So text. Let's scale it. It's not gonna do it that way. We're gonna do font. So like 15 cent should be okay. There we go. And then remove spacing. So we've got our button and we've got some default text. What we're going to want to do is change this text inside of our UMG master. We can't do that right now. So if I go to my UMG master and we go to our design graph, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a horizontal box and then place this in just so we can kind of organize things a little bit easier. And I can also show you how we can reuse different elements. So that looks okay for what we've got. And then we can go to user created and you can see here that we have widget blueprint general button. If I drag this in, it's taking up the length. Strange. Fill general button. Why aren't we seeing it? Do I need to compile? Is that the problem? There it is. I didn't compile it. So we've got our button. We've got our size. That's how big it is. So now if I go to the general button again and change that size box and set this to, let's say, 200, what will happen is it'll actually update inside of the master to be that 200 in scale. So you've got some more control over it as well. Change this around so I don't get confused too much. So we want to change this text block and we want it to say maybe open settings, quick game, something along those lines, without having to have a new button for each one. What we can do is we can go to general button, size box, so let's do text because that's the bit that we need to change, and then we can tick is variable, so text, and this is what we're going to do. So we're going to go to the graph. We're going to use event pre-construct and the event construct. So pre-construct happens before the game starts, so we should be able to see that update inside of our UMG for testing. And then event construct is going to set that information when the game starts or when this blueprint is loaded on screen, so we can also see the content in there. Text, we're just going to drag that in as a reference, so we can get text. And if we drag off this, we can do set text. And you see at the bottom here, we've got set text, bracket text. We do this, we can plug that into pre-construct like so, and then we can promote this in text to a variable. So we've got our in text. And then what we want to do is we want to make sure this is public. So we're going to just hit the little eye icon. And now if we compile, what that allows us to do is go to our master where we place that button into the project or your UMG. And in text, we can actually say play game. And we could go and create another one. So duplicate. And then we'll say quit game. And now we've got one button that is doing two different tasks. They're not doing anything right now. We can't press play or anything along that lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to widget blueprint and we're going to delete this event tick. We're going to select the button and on the bottom left it says on clicked. We're just going to use that to detect when we click the button, and then we're going to use an event dispatcher to listen for it, or more accurate, we're going to call it. So button clicked, and then if I drag this in and do call, that is pretty much our button set up to do something. So in our widget blueprint UMG master, we've got these two buttons. If I click on them now, and we scroll down, behind my head, it says button clicked. You can see it a little bit better if I select it here. And on the bottom left, we've got button clicked. So what I can do is I can just press this now on both of them to say general and then general button. So what do those buttons do? We want to rename this. So widget blueprint, play game, and then quit game. And I'm going to replace that horizontal box with a vertical box. There we go. Cool. So you see here, on-click button does not have a valid matching component. So that's because the old button has been deleted and renamed. And then we have our on-clicked play game. So print string, play game, and then print string would be our quit game. Cool. So if we hop back in, we can see that our widget's a little bit wrong, but if we press the top one, we get play game in the top left, and then on the bottom one we get quick game on there as well. So I'm getting that input for the text because I forgot to remove a print string from my player. So let's just do that, and then we'll change this one to match. Yeah, we'll do it like that. That should be better. Cool. So same thing, we can still see our widgets, and we've got them that we can click different buttons and do the same thing, although it is just a different button, same button. So if I go into here now and I say, okay, we're going to take this style, we're going to say the normal look has more rounded edges. So let's say 15 by 15 by 15, have that in there, and then we're going to tint it, outline, let's do like a black, compile, and then as soon as we go back in, it's automatically made those changes for us so we can see what's going on, and that logic still works. So you don't have to manually go through each widget element in your UMG to make it do something. You can do this with any widget. So any component, you can set that up. So let's say we do a user interface, we do widget blueprint, user widget blueprint, WBP underscore combo box, and we can set that up. We want to do the same thing. We want to get a size, where is it? Size box, drop that on, and then we can do combo box, and we'll do combo box string. Drag this in. We can use the size box to change the scale. It's like 200 by 50 again. And then it hasn't changed because we didn't change fill screen on the top right to desired on screen. So that's the reason it wasn't all done. So in this one's a little bit more difficult because we have default options and then selected option. So we need to kind of set this up to have an array. And it's not too difficult once we get started. So if we jump over to the event graph, we've already got this as variable ticked. What we're going to do is we're going to start by getting a reference to our combo box. And we're going to clear options. And we do this because if we set something in here, let's say we're debugging and we're adding some options in here, we make an array of listed items, and we don't want those in the game. This will automatically clear it for us before putting it on the screen. So clear options, and then we're going to do that on pre-construct and construct. To be fair, event pre-construct is probably enough, but it doesn't hurt. And the way the combo box works is we have an add option function. So we can feed an option into here, and then it will add it to that combo box for us in the dropdown. But we need an array of items because we don't just want one option. We want a couple. So if you go to variables, and we're going to take a string because that's what it takes. So set this to variable to string, rename options, and then we're going to make sure that this is an array. So we take the options array, we get it for each loop through this array, and then we populate that options box. So we add an option for everything that is in our array, and we're going to make sure that is public as well. After this, once we've added all our elements to the combo box, we're going to refresh it. So we refresh the options box so it updates with the chosen options that we've added in. And now we can set the selected option. So in the combo box, we have this selected option, which is going to be our default, and it needs to match one of the options in our array list. So what we can do is set options. If I've got a reference to the combo box, set selected option, that is the one that I'm looking for. Plug that in like so, and we can do options. We can get that option array, and then we can do get a copy, plug it into option, and now we need to set our option that we want. So to do that, we're going to find the options in our array. So we drag off the combo box and we do find option. So find option index, and now we can actually have a set value. So promote this to variable. We do option selected, and that's it. Our combo box now, we've got two variables. We've got an array, so we can populate that, and then we've got the option selected that we want to set as our default option. We could use the array in any other way that we want to get that, but this is probably the easiest way of doing it. Combo box string. What we need to do now is have a way to select it and actually change those options. So to do that, we can use the onSelected changed. So we can select this. So every time we change our combo box, so we select it and we update something, this will fire and it can refresh what's going on. So we're going to create an event dispatcher called option changed, which would work pretty well. We're going to call that over here, and we're going to check to see if the selection type is not equal to the one that we're currently on. If it's not, then we can tell it to do something. But if it is, it's not going to change. So if this is not equal to the current one we've selected, we can go to true. And then we can use the array to find the selected object. So we can go to, which way have I got it? Combo box, find option index, and we can plug that into our selected item. So when we press our combo box and we select a new item, it's going to check and find that option index. So whether it's 0, 1, 2, or 3, 4. And then we can feed that through to our call option changed. So we're going to add to our event dispatcher integer. We'll say selected object or selected option, which is probably better. and then we can just right click on this node, hit refresh, and then we've got it in there like so. So that is it for our combo box pretty much sorted. We've got our event pre-construct, which clears the default options in the loops through our array of elements and adds those into the combo box, where we then refresh the node after that's happened. And then we set the selected option based off the option that we select in our element, which is going to be inside of our other UMG. Now, when we change an option in our combo box, we're going to check if it's not similar. This is wrong. We want to change this to direct. Selection was directly set in code. And then on branch, we call option changed, and we get the option that we currently selected. So we could feed through selected item, but as a string, it's probably a little bit like you want to use that. Whereas if you do an index, you get a value, and then you can use the select node to kind of go through and do different things, which we can take a look at as well. So UMG master, if I bring this in, we can go down and find custom. So we got widget blueprint combo box. I can drop this in, and you can see here on the right, now we've got these options and then options selected. So I'm going to do a couple of them. Then we say option 1, control this through, what's going on, there we go. And by default, we want option selected to be option 1. So we hit compile. We can see that it actually populates the box for us. If we jump into the project, we can actually go up to that combo box, which we can't see, but we can actually choose between option 1, option 2, and option 3. I just made that a little bit bigger so we can actually see it. So by default, it's set to option 1, and then we can go through and choose those. And in the master now, what we can do is we can go to the graph, and we see here option changed, and we can get that index. So I realized I was just overcomplicating it, so I just deleted that. So what you could do is just do a switch on int, and then you can have an integer for each one that you have in it, or you could have it feed through to an enum like I was going to do, and then have it go through. But I think for the sake of time, we can just have it do a bit faster. So option 1, I'm going to do it. My control C, control V is not working. There it is. Plug that in like so. Option 2, option 3, default is going to be option 1. Hit compile, and then we can jump back in. So when we go up to it, we've got our top button, which is play game and then quick game. Option 1, we can select that and it says option 2 on the left, and option 3. So we can actually use these to build a pretty versatile UMG system. And the best part is you can actually use this to set different information on them from different places. But it's literally just a case of copying and pasting them now. So duplicate, so we could remove these and have this one with 2 options, which is left hand or right hand, and then we just say left hand is going to be default, and then we could do a new reference to the button, so we could duplicate this and say, I don't know, pause game. I'm just trying to come up with stuff off the top of my head. Game, pause game, and then we have these set back up, so it's just a case of duplicating it, hit button click behind my head, and then we do print string, paused game, and then we basically do the same thing for the option change. So combo box 1 is going to be our second one, so option changed, and then we do switch on int. Don't know how I did that. And then we've got 2 options, which is print string left hand. What's going on? Okay, left hand, Control C, Control V. You're going to do it. There we go. And then right hand, default option, set left hand. Cool. So now we jump back in. We've really quickly added brand new options. So we got play game, game pause, quick game, option 1, 2, 3, left hand, right hand, and you can see it actually says in the top left which one we're using. And now we want to change the design. We can just open up that one button. We can then come over to it in the HUD, scroll down, tint. We want it back to a white, and then border, we're going to make that really thick. Hit compile. Don't know why that one broke. There we go. Just need to compile in the master as well. We can add that in. We can take our text. We can say color and opacity, not great, so we set that to black. Save UMG master. We just compile it in here. Now it's completely updated, and we can go through and actually modify everything really quick, build out our game, and do it how you want. So pretty much you can just go through and make any that you need. The only thing you got to do is make sure you've got the event dispatchers in there, and you have a way of setting the information pre-construct and on construct. So yeah, if anybody wants the files for this, what I'll do is I'll put them up on the Patreon and the YouTube members so you can download it, take a look, and then fiddle around with it. But yeah, until next time, I hope this helped. Stay safe and I'll see you then.